Welcome to the Avram Davidson universe. Virgil and I are here. We're here to talk about our most anticipated books and why you should read Avram Davidson because it's damn well worth your time.
Yes.
Virgil, yes, Virgil from Literally Books, Bob from Wheel of Genre. Virgil, what do you think you're most excited to read?
So for most excited to read, it is a tough choice. I have two that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to start with actually I'm going to start with Marco Polo and the
Okay,
Sleeping
okay.
Beauty is the one I want to start with.
Oh.
Written by Avram Davidson and Grania Davis. Um, the reason I picked this one, not that though I'm really equally excited, is because I just looked up a little bit about Marco Polo before we started.
Mm.
Which, because it's like, what do I know about Marco Polo? Not much more than the game you play when you were in the pool when you were a kid, where somebody goes, Marco. And that's about
Polo.
it. There's like, what do I know about Marco Polo? Not much.
The essentials.
Right. They're like, this is his legacy, right? 800 years later, what do we know about Marco Polo? Well, we played this game in the pool.
So what do you think?
And
I mean, what do you think he's going to be writing about Marco Polo? It's such an interesting thing for Avram Davidson to pick up. What is the fascination here?
So, I'll read the blurb on the back real quick because I think
Hmm.
this is the best way to sell it. And it says, Your freedom for a princess, 10 years in the service of Kublai Khan, Marco, Niccolo, and Mefo Polo. Niccolo and Mefo are Marco's uncles. I looked that up.
Oh.
Historically, that's where they
Hmm.
are. In the book, I assume it's the same. The Polo have seen magic and miracles and accumulated riches beyond dreaming, but now all they want is to return to their beloved Venice. Alas, as the only Westerners in the glittering Mongol court, they are high favorites with the Khan of Khans, and before he will allow them to leave, they must undertake one strange final quest. Kubali, which I think I said that right, is beginning to suffer the ravages of old age. Tales have reached him of a mysterious princess who sleeps forever, yet remains forever young, unaging. Surely she has the secret of immortality. Bring me the princess, he tells the Polos, and you are free. And I think that is an
Oh.
absolutely fascinating idea to take the historical figure and write a fantasy around him.
Hmm.
I think it's an amazing idea. Of course, I've joked before that this is like this Charles Bronson face going on
Oh
in the
yeah. Oh, I know that
back,
book cover. I remember that video. Yes.
which I think is so silly. But also, there's like some kind of a green griffin going on there up here, and then I'm not
Green
really sure
Griffin.
what this guy is. I'm not sure if this is. I don't know what this is, but it
He's
looks
living
cool.
large.
And I just love the idea of this fantasy world
Hmm.
built around um this historical figure and like maybe like a slightly mythologized version of that figure that somehow happens to be true. And
Hmm.
and again, it's that same thing that Avram does, where it's like you like somehow transition from reality into fantasy. And then, and
Hmm.
I just, like, ooh, it's like, I'm like, I anticipate this to be so good. And I'm looking forward to reading something that of Grania Davis, just, I think I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. I would love to read more Grania Davis. And I'm interested in this too because of this. We've read some of the Lime Killer stories now together. At least we've talked about some of them. And it's interesting to have a kind of alternative history and then have fantasy inside of that history, especially when someone who is so well versed in historical documents in different histories and he can bring them in not seamlessly but startlingly. So it's very novel the way these histories are told and brought in through mythology. And I'm really interested in my one of my top picks. I wish I had a book to hold up. I have a mug because I have no books, but I am excited to read The Inquiries of Dr. Esterhazy and The Adventures of Dr. Esterhazy, or it could be Esterhazy. I'll have to ask Seth about that. But these are I'm really interested in. They're set in an imaginary empire called Scythia Pannonia Transbalkania, and it sounds like it's kind of similar to Lime Killer, where we have these. They're imaginary places, but they're very much based on history or kind of a clash of histories, similar to your Kubla Khan story, the Marco Polo story. So I'm excited to see Dr. Esterhazy and seeing inside of this fantastical realm, inside of this history based imaginary place. to have a
Mm.
detective going through and trying to find truth in an imaginary place, I think is very interesting.
Yes, it is. I think I've read one of those short stories, and I think that one short story I've read is also a Sleeping Beauty story. Polly Charms or the Sleeping Beauty, yeah. I think that's an Esther Hazy, one, and it was, so I like that he's got this interest in Sleeping Beauty, the myth of Sleeping Beauty, so that could be a lot of fun,
Mm,
and, yeah, the I love the idea too of these sort of this alternate version of history or like an offshoot, right? And there's this whole
mm,
fantasy world so that seems super fascinating to me, and also not what you would traditionally think of as like an alternate, like a fantasy universe where it's like swords and stuff like that, but it's like, gaslight or something,
mm.
because I
The
think that's more of
gaslamp
a
fantasy. Mm,
like 1800s setting, isn't it?
mm.
Yeah. So I think that
I would
sounds really cool.
I think it sounds really cool too. I love gaslamp fantasy. I'm really interested in reading more of that, especially if that's what he's doing, where it's kind of Victorian, but he's bringing it into a fantastical realm with Sleeping
Yeah, that's
Beauty.
right.
That's gonna be exciting. Virgil, what about you? What's your third book, or our third
So
book?
our third book. So the other
Mm,
one that I'm really excited about, which I think is also equally just as interesting an idea, is The Phoenix in the Mirror. Ooh, there's a lot
hmm.
of reflective and that's
It's a
so this
mirror.
is the first in a it was what was a projected series. I don't know how many books there were supposed to be.
Mm,
Um Following the idea of Virgil the poet who wrote the Aeneid.
mm,
And so this is really interesting. I think this idea is fascinating. The idea is that during the Middle Ages, people forgot that Virgil the poet wrote the Aeneid. Like they didn't have any memory of this. They somehow associated him with sorcery and like
mm.
alchemy. And so they thought of him as this like weird sorcerer, which is such a strange thing. And his book presupposes that that's all true, that he was really a sorcerer, that like the Aeneid was like, oh, like maybe a side project, right? He's like, well, that's like something I do in my spare time. But what I really do, my day job is sorcery, by the way.
Cool.
And in this story, he is contracted by the Lady Cordelia
Hmm,
to create a mirror that has never reflected a human face.
mm.
And in this mirror, he sees this beautiful young girl, Laura, who is the daughter of Cordelia and who is prisoner of the four-armed Cyclops.
Whoa.
And so he falls in love with her and decides to rescue her. And so that's the premise of this story. And I just love the idea of we'd have this historical figure, right? Who's wrote a very famous I think the first work of prose, I think, isn't that what they sometimes say about the Aeneid? It's one of the first works of prose that
It's
wasn't poetry, it was
it's
actual prose. I
that one is
I believe
still metered. I think it's a poem.
it could be. I
Uh,
don't say that I'm right. I only say I only express my misunderstandings.
okay, I like that.
But, I know it's a very so anyway, so the Aeneid. Anyway, so that sounds great, and then I I do not remember where I got this information from, but I remember hearing someone say, and I want to say it was on, maybe last year, there was an episode of the Avram Davidson Universe podcast
Hmm.
where there was a Virgil story, Virgil or the Caged Bird. It was a Virgil story, and I think the guest on that show, whose name is not in my head right now, um, I think that was that guest, but I could be misattributing, said that, someone said
Huh.
that this book did not sell very well at first,
Huh.
and so the publisher was gonna pulp it. They were just gonna, they were like, "Ah, just scrap them." And Avram was like, "No, no, no," and he bought them all up. He
Whoa.
bought all the unsold stock and then, like, doled them out in a series of years to, like, the public, like, would take him to, like, sci-fi conventions and, like, sell them that way or something like that. And I think there was even something where someone approached him later and was, like, saying, "Oh, that story, the Phoenix is such a cool creature, oh, you did so great." And he's like, "Wait a minute, you do understand that this is a creature from myth, right? This isn't I didn't make the Phoenix like this." It was this great misunderstanding. So, anyway, I thought that was cool. And also, I have to read this little blurb on the back
Hmm.
piece back here because it's just like, what a great blurb this is. It says, Mr. Davidson now lives in Belize, British Honduras, with his wife and son. He finds it pleasant, except for the occasional poisonous snakes. And I'm
Those will
like, what a
get you.
great blurb.
That is a great blurb.
That's right. You
Watch
do
out for
not want those.
snakes.
I'm sorry. I'm bogarting. Go ahead. It is your
No, no,
turn.
no, no. I was just imagining the snakes and then a mongoose coming after Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Oh, that's
I
right.
am
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I am really interested. Speaking of Sleeping Beauty myth or something that is somewhat approaching sword and sorcery, as you said earlier, I'm really interested in this. I'm not sure if it's sci-fi or if it's fantasy, but it's called Rogue Dragon. And what I can get is that it is dragons somehow brought into capitalism. it's dragons that are like used for as energy sources, but it reminded me a lot. I mean, this is a bad confession, but it reminds me a lot of Pokemon, especially when you.
No, I love it. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, and you've got a copy of it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm really interested in reading this, and it's got two stories in your copy, and it's part of a series. Is that right, Virgil?
Yeah. It looks like there's the Karchi Rain is the first story and Rogue Dragon is the second. Although I don't know if it says the first time together with its sequel, but I think that's talking
Oh,
about the Karchi Rain.
rain. Okay,
Let me see what order they're in. I imagine they're in the order they are in the title. They are.
okay.
Um, yeah. So, well, no, wait a minute. I take that back because the copyrights are reversed. This is
Oh,
weird. So the copyright for Rogue Dragon is 65 and Karchi Rain is 66.
oh,
So,
interesting. Okay,
so interesting that
put
they
them in
put
reverse.
maybe it was like a prequel and then they were like, well, let's put
Oh,
them in this order. Maybe that was the idea.
I see.
Well, the back of this says, oh, well, here. Not that I have to have it, but it's always easier. The earth was old, her riches gone, her children too had left her, but a few who lived peacefully off the land. And then came the Karchi to crack earth open and suck out what remained of her richness, threatening the twilight of the old planet with an evil beyond anything that had been done before. With them they brought their servants, beasts so cruel and horrible that men could recall their like only from ancestral nightmares and name them dragons. So
Whoa,
anyway,
ancestral
it does look
nightmares.
cool.
It does look cool. I'm excited for that. I when we read oh the caravan to Ilial, that was really fun where we have all of these uh lusty uh men going hey ho
Oh,
that was great fun. Sword fighting. He brings so much. I'm not gonna say vim and vigor. He brings a lot of kind of joy and strangeness to a lot of genres that I think could be stuffy sometimes. I know that all the stuffiness has been knocked out of sword and sorcery, but I think when we think about it now, if you haven't actually read it, you treat it as if it's something stuffy. But when
mhm.
Avram Davidson writes it, it's very enlivened because it's like you've never. It's a different approach altogether every time he comes to a genre. So I'm really excited to see what this. It sounds just like a straightforward kind of sci-fi tinged fantasy, but I'm wondering what Davidson's going to bring to it. Rogue Dragon.
I agree. Yeah, it sounds great. And yeah, you've got it perfectly right that he does breathe this exuberance into whatever he writes about. It's like he
Mm-hmm.
makes it fun at the same time as it's in addition to the action and everything. It isn't just action, it's just fun to read.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's great. I love that.
It's good stuff.
It's something he does all the time.
It reminds me a lot of the idea of the golem, and he writes about the golem. You know, when you have this clay figure, it's something that is inanimate until you have the sacred script. You write it on paper and you put it into the golem's head. I wonder if some old genres or genres that have been let go, or myths that have been let go, Avram kind of in writing brings them back to life. It feels a little bit like he's making these golems and putting them out into into
That's a
books for us to
great
then
that's
track.
a really great concept. That is sort of what's going on in a sense. Like, um, yeah, like taking an older genre or an older subject and reanimating it, and bringing it and
Mm-hmm.
like re-enlivening it, bring it back. That's a really great because that is sort of what he's doing with history. He's like trying to be somewhat truthful to the history, not he's not just making up like nothing. He's not just making up wild speculation, but he's using the framework of history and myth, but then really breathing a lot of life into it. So that's a really great way to look at it, actually, that he is sort of a golem master. Is that what you would call somebody?
Golem
A
master.
golemist.
The golemist.
A golemist.
I'm
I
a
don't know if that's
golemist.
probably the wrong term, but that's okay.
A geodude. Seamless segue, Virgil, because
Okay.
our shared
I'm seamless. Could never.
you were the original alchemist. Our shared piece that we want to be reading is Adventures in on History. It's a collection of essays about historical or mythological things, and Avram Davidson is tracing them back to their origin. And in doing that, he is, because this is pre-Google, this is pre-AI, he is researching, going to libraries, talking to people, finding out all of this information about any mythological thing or historical thing, and finding the roots of it, looking at etymology, looking at hearsay, looking at historical documents. I'm really excited to look at these stories together.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're so good. I mean,
Hmm.
it might seem like, well, do I really want to read nonfiction about this? Like you do.
You
You
do.
do. Like
The
it's feel
answer is
like a,
clear.
it's like somebody just a random person like that doesn't know if trust me, you're gonna be interested. You read this and you just not only is he entertaining you throughout the entire essay. So it's like he's not just like, here's a fact, here's a fact. He's like, by the way, you're just gonna be he's a storyteller. It's like if you had met some guy who was like, if you're just like going along or something, you're at the store and some guy, and you kind of hang out or something. Maybe you're buying Pokemon cards and this guy comes in and he's like, let me tell you a little story about this. And you're like, okay, sure. And then you're all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, what time is it? I've been here 3 hours. I gotta go. It's like that. It's like you just get sucked into this story. It's
Hmm.
just great.
Being
And then you
stuck
go
in
away,
the
you're like,
yeah.
my mind just got blown.
It's like wandering into the comic shop and then finding yourself, there for hours.
It's kind of like that. It really is. It's the literary version of that. You're like,
Hmm.
wow. That's it. It's like, wow.
One that
Oh,
I'm really
I can't remember
oh
how you say it in Chinese. How do you say I forgot already.
oh wasai
Wasai, that's right. It's like wasai.
wasai 4 hours.
That's it. I'm gonna use that
Wasai.
as much as I can.
What am I? I really want to get Secret Fire Books on here because he is a true expert in sword and sorcery and he knows so much about Hyperborea. I really want to talk to him about this essay about Hyperborea because that is the fictional age where Conan is set, but then also there are all of these old myths about Hyperborea, and you and I have read a little bit, like when Herodotus is talking about them. I really want to find out Avram's sleuthing and find out the roots of Hyperborea.
Yeah, I think right. And it seems, because it could be so interesting because Robert E. Howard was really into that too. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see the different conclusions they come or sort of compare notes to see like, what they have to say about each other. And I know that well, obviously Avram like enjoyed that pulpy fiction. He liked that
Mm,
stuff.
mm,
I mean, he even wrote what is it that he even wrote a short story that's a Burroughs sort of that he's talking about the John Carter series. Was it something about that angry throat? Hark,
mm,
I hear the squeal of an angry throat, which is
mm,
absolutely a John Carter. It's a John Carter story. It's John
mm.
Carter with the numbers filed off. But not really quite that, not even really quite that obscure. Like it's an obvious John Carter story, and
Oh.
it's really, which is great. And yeah, so he loved the pulp. I think my impression is that he appreciated and enjoyed that stuff. So yeah, it'd be awesome to see what he has to say.
I think so. It feels like he's not just a net, I guess, with all of these connections between different stories, but it's like tree roots that just keep going and going and going to see all of these things, connecting. If we're going from Hyperborea to Herodotus to these Conan stories or even to the um, Burroughs stuff, I think that will be really interesting and see how all of it connects.
I think it'd be so cool. I'm
All right.
excited. I love those. I love that Adventures in on History. It's like it's
Mm,
such a great thing, and I think it's a great companion too to Herodotus. I think it,
mm.
because there's so much so much mention of Herodotus in there. So
Here we
totally.
go. I think it's time to, as you said before, it's like a treasure trove, and now we're treasure hunters finding all of these great things as we go
It is
forward.
very much like that.
Set sail, Virgil. We're gonna
That's
read
right.
about
Set
Virgil.
sail, right? Just like Sinbad, and there's a Sinbad
That's right.
discussion
There's
in
even a
those adventures in our
Sinbad
history,
story.
right?
Yeah, so join Bob and Virgil as we read about Virgil and the Phoenix and the Mirror coming to
But
theaters
spelled
near you.
differently. He spells Virgil with an E.
Oh, yes, good point. Okay.
And so there's that. So which might be, I don't know. I guess that might be the more historical spelling. I don't know. All the
I don't
spelling once you get past once you go back so far is just like it was just like, well, what do you think it should be spelled like? It's like, how about
Yeah.
this?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
All right, Virgil. Talk to you next time.
All right, thanks, Bob. Good to see you again.